Hello folks, and welcome to Jack Reviews Musicals. If this is your first time seeing my face on the internet, my name is Jack, and I'm a musical theater superfan based in St. Louis, Missouri. This is my YouTube channel where I share my thoughts on all of the musical productions that I go out to see in the area. And the incredibly kind folks at Fly North Theatricals invited me to go out to see their production of Little Miss Sunshine, which is currently playing at the Greenfinch Theater and Dive from now until May 4th of 2025. Little Miss Sunshine is being produced as part of Fly North Theatricals' Theater for All initiative, meaning that this production is technically a fundraiser utilizing a pay-what-you-can model. This is not uncommon in the world of regional theater, but the cool thing about the Theater for All initiative is that the proceeds from this production are going towards funding musical theater education and accessibility in St. Louis. In the past, Fly North has actually raised upwards of $10,000 towards this goal. And to uphold that mission of education and accessibility, Fly North cast Little Miss Sunshine with a mixture of well-known professional St. Louis-based actors with young up-and-comers who are students of Fly North Theatricals' in-house musical theater educational program, which when you think about it is a really cool opportunity for musical theater students. And seeing as how I am a big proponent of education and accessibility in the theater arts, this initiative is obviously very important to me. So if you want to learn more about the Theater for All initiative and maybe even donate to it, you can scan the QR code right here or click the link in the description. In 2023, Fly North Theatricals produced the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee for the Theater for All initiative, which you can read my review for on jackreviewsmusicals.com. And Little Miss Sunshine was created in part by Spelling Bee's composer, the late William Finn. The book was crafted by James Lapine, Finn's collaborator on his masterpieces, Falsettos and A New Brain. This musical is the stage adaptation of the highly acclaimed 2006 movie of the same name, directed by Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris, from the screenplay by Michael Arndt, who won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, as did the late great Alan Arkin for Best Supporting Actor. The film also featured breakthrough performances from a then 10-year-old Abigail Breslin and a who's who of early to mid-2000s character actors, Greg Kinnear, Toni Collette, Steve Carell, and Paul Dano. Little Miss Sunshine has earned seemingly universal praise for its tight ensemble cast, realistic dialogue, and quirky directing, cementing itself as the favorite movie of so many people. It's definitely one of my favorites for sure. And so it makes sense that the movie's cult classic status would catch the attention of William Finn, a cult classic musical composer. Combining a mature story with the emotional impact of music and the theatrical wizardry involved with bringing the movie's iconic visuals to the stage, it has the makings of a surefire hit. So going into Fly North's production, I was really surprised by how much the Little Miss Sunshine musical was underrated. Not as highly regarded as either the movie or William Finn and James Lapine's body of work. And after I got done seeing it, I could kinda see why. But first, what's the story? The central characters of Little Miss Sunshine are the Hoover family of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The matriarch, Cheryl, is a bank teller whose sanity is hanging on by a thread because she has lost pretty much total control of her family's shenanigans. Richard, Cheryl's husband, is a self-help blogger who is on the verge of going bankrupt, so he has been working around the clock to push out a book deal, driving a wedge between him and Cheryl. And not helping anything is Richard has made his 10 steps to success his entire personality, and it has completely twisted his perspective on how he sees people, viewing them as either winners or losers with no in between, which drives an even deeper wedge between him and everyone else in the family. Dwayne, their teenage son, has really gotten into Friedrich Nietzsche. For the last 3 months, Dwayne has taken a vow of silence, which he has promised to break once he achieves his dream of being an Air Force pilot. Frank, Cheryl's younger brother, is a a highly renowned scholar whose love affair with one of his graduate students ended with said student being stolen from him by Frank's academic rival. And the fallout of this breakup escalated to Frank attempting to take his own life, an attempt that he survives, and now he is being put under Cheryl's care. Edwin, Richard's father, is a sexual deviant drug addict who was forced to move in with the Hoovers after getting kicked out of a senior living center for his behavior. Literally the only person in the Hoover family who seems to have their life together is Richard and Cheryl's 10-year-old daughter, Olive. Her big dream is to be the next Miss America. Olive competes in child beauty pageants in the greater Albuquerque area, with her grandpa Edwin as her choreographer, even though Olive doesn't really have the poise or even the looks really to be a beauty queen. But Olive keeps doing this purely because she's passionate about it, which in stories about child beauty pageants is really refreshing to see, especially considering that the Hoovers are not a pageant family. They're just supporting Olive in any way they can. So color the Hoovers surprised when they get a call that Olive has just earned a spot in the national Little Miss Sunshine competition. The call came at the last possible minute. The contest is 2 days out in Redondo Beach, California, 800 miles away. So now we have a dilemma. Contest policy states Olive has to be accompanied by Cheryl, her mother, but Edwin wants to come too. He's the choreographer after all, but because of their income, the three of them can't afford to fly there. The family car is a compact, so the three of them can't fit inside of it. The only other car that they have is Edwin's old Volkswagen minibus, but Edwin can't drive it because his license is suspended. Cheryl can't because she can't drive stick. Frank's hands are out of commission, and Dwayne is on probation, so he's legally not allowed to drive. So if they take the bus, Richard has to be the one to drive it. So if 4 people are going, Frank and Dwayne have to come too. Frank cannot be left alone because he's suicidal, and Dwayne, again, is on probation, so he needs to have close supervision at all times. What Dwayne exactly did to put him on probation, we don't know, but it is funnier that we're just left to our imaginations with this. So they give Olive the choice of whether or not to do this, and she says yes. Partially out of passion for the competition, partially because Richard's very toxic mentality of winners versus losers has at this point firmly planted itself in her mind. And so the Hoovers all pile up inside of this old, beat up, bright yellow Volkswagen minibus, and they go on a road trip 800 miles from Albuquerque to LA. But along the way, the family encounters constant setback after setback to their personal goals, to the point where the contest is essentially the only thing they are looking forward to. And I'm not going to spoil what exactly happens when they do get there, or what exactly the setbacks the Hoovers have faced, but let's just say that all of this really drives us into the point of Little Miss Sunshine, pun absolutely intended. Little Miss Sunshine is a story about a family unhappy with their lives and learning that being a well-adjusted, fulfilled person is not about being the best. It's about doing your best and being okay with that. Little Miss Sunshine is a very feel-good, very healing story. Watching it just leaves you with a good feeling. Seeing these characters overcoming their struggles just makes you feel energized and willing to take on the world. And the most important symbol in the entire show is rooted in that idea of taking on the world, that symbol being the bus. The clutch is completely shut, so every time the Hoovers start the bus, they have to physically push the vehicle, working together to get it up to 20 miles an hour until they can put it in gear. And once they do, it then becomes a mad dash for the family to jump inside of the van while it's moving, which on its own is a hilarious visual conceptually, but it's also a very powerful symbol for the importance of a healthy family dynamic. Because individually, people in a family can be messed up, sometimes beyond belief, but that's why they have family. Little Miss Sunshine shows us that being a family means that everybody has to work together to lift each other up, to be each other's rock, to be a stabilizing force against everything that life throws at you, even if we have to sprint to catch up to it. And this is a lesson that the Hoovers have to learn by the end of the story. And one of the most defining moments of that character progression, if not the defining moment, is the pushing of the bus. And going into Fly North's production, I was intrigued by how they were going to stage this, particularly because the Green Finch Theater and Dive is small. Their black box space is teeny tiny. It legitimately feels like a black box, just a room that was scrounged together into a theater. Literally, the seating for the audience was any chair that the Green Finch could get their hands on, even using sofas for seats. It honestly creates a kind of cozy, inviting feel. The only consistent set for this production is the stage floor, which was painted by Katie Orr into a design resembling Olive's hand-drawn map of the Hoover family's route, where it starts going in a straight line, but then the middle goes in all kinds of weird, crazy directions, but then it goes back straight again. There's landmarks of the Area 51 symbol, the Hollywood sign, and cacti, where all of it has this very thick stroke, cartoonish line work style, and bright colors that make the map feel like it was drawn by a kid. We also have a video screen with projections designed by director Colin Healy. The projections have this paper cutout, sticker, cardboard motif, where the projections are all collages that were handmade by Olive. There are tiara stickers that are used as the sun and moon. There's images of buildings pasted in the background, company product logos, text scavenged from beauty magazines and from Richard's 10 Steps to Success, serving as a constant reminder of how much this mentality has messed up Olive and pretty much everyone in the Hoover family. Colin Healy and Katie Orr both did a masterful job of really bringing the audience into Olive's world, purely through visuals. So obviously, they can't fit an entire Volkswagen minibus in there, so they had to go abstract. The bus in this production is represented by 6 bright yellow, mid-century modern rolling swivel chairs, all of which were curated by props designer Kel Rolfe. During the sequence where the Hoovers push the bus for the first time, they all struggle to push on the chairs until, slowly, it starts to gain traction. And then it starts going too fast. So what they do to represent this is they all plop into the chairs and start spinning wildly out of control. And once they right themselves, they actually start running in place on the chairs, using the momentum of the chairs to actually simulate the illusion of movement. And they even propel themselves across the stage, intersecting with each other, grasping for each other, trying to push everyone or even pull themselves into the bus. And during the scene, the lights, designed by Bradley Rolfe, actually roll across the stage in a rotating pattern, emphasizing this chaos that is happening on the stage and just how much the Hoovers are struggling with this. Pushing the bus was probably the most fun sequence in the entire show, and Colin Healy was clever enough to actually utilize these chairs consistently, not just as chairs, but also set dressing. For example, there's a scene where they go to use a restroom and the chairs are all lined up to look like urinals. And if there is a point where they switch between locations or exit on and off the stage by rolling around in the chairs, they take that opportunity, really adding to the story's madcap energy. Colin Healy was also the musical director for this production. He leads the band with himself and Nikki Irvin on the keys, Jessica Podig on the French horn, Brandon Thompson on the reeds, and Des Jones on the drums. With all of the hats that Colin Healy is wearing in this show, director, musical director, projections designer, he quite literally has his fingers on the pulse pulse of how this story works, from the aesthetic to the pacing to even the sound of it. He really is the puppet master of this production through and through. The singing from the cast, excellent. The sound of the band, crisp. And the blocking, actually really interesting. Healy does a really great job with his blocking to distinguish the fantasy of the songs and the reality of the story. I mean, even going back to the point of having the cast sitting in chairs for a good chunk of the show, he even uses the proximity of the chairs at certain moments to symbolize how distant the Hoovers are from each other and their level of dysfunction. It's an absolutely brilliant vision, at turns non-stop energized because of how the chairs are used, and also realistically still when it needs to be, when the moments of family drama come crashing in abruptly. As far as the material goes, James Lapine's book is actually a fairly straightforward adaptation of Michael Arndt's screenplay, with a few updates to keep the show under 2 hours long. The stage version, for example, doesn't show the multitude of ways that the bus falls apart like the movie does. Olive's made to be a little bit older in the stage version than the movie. Dwayne's vow of silence in the stage version is only 3 months compared to the movie's 9. Richard is made into a self-help blogger instead of a motivational speaker, even adding that Richard had aspirations to be a pro baseball player. The show even includes a flashback sequence to Richard and Cheryl's college days, Always Makes Me Proud, where the two of them sing about their future together when they find out that Cheryl is pregnant with Dwayne. In Act 2, Richard sings What You Left Behind to expand upon his rather fraught relationship with his father, Edwin, a relationship that the movie never actually dug into that much. Now, both of these moments are quite good, and they actually add a lot to the story's depth that we didn't get from the movie. But as for the songs that these moments center around, they actually suffer from a problem that a good chunk of the score also suffers from. And I think this problem is the primary reason why Little Miss Sunshine the musical is as underrated as it is. William Finn's score for Little Miss Sunshine is very prosaic. A good chunk of the lyrics in this show lack poetry, the kind of floweriness that you are liable to find in William Finn's other shows, Falsettos, A New Brain, or even Spelling Bee, really. The lyrics in this show often come across as either awkwardly phrased, repetitive in ways that feel like filler, and don't achieve the same level of depth in the characters as the dialogue does. In fact, much of the lyric is very shallow. It is quite surface level. The song in the show that comes the closest to being poetic is Something Better Better Happen, and its variants throughout the show. The lyrics are haunting and wistful, and the music is quite moving. Objectively, Something Better Better Happen is the best song in the score, with the most fun sequence being Pushing the Bus. And speaking of as fun and bouncy and even emotional as the music is, the music also utilizes the same instrumentation as the music in William Finn's other shows. Instead of that very folksy indie sound from the movie, Finn uses a lot of the same orchestration tricks and musical motifs from the rest of his body of work. Like, you could take Edwin's big song, The Happiest Guy in the Van, plop it into A New Brain, and it wouldn't feel out of place. Out of all of William Finn's musicals that I have seen, Little Miss Sunshine has by far his weakest score that he's ever done. If nothing else, because it really felt like he was phoning it in, relying on the same old tricks from when he was composing his other shows. But you know what? What the hell do I know? If this is his weakest score, I'll take it. A lot of the music and even the lyric in this show are still full of character. They're very energized. I honestly don't hate it. It's a good score, just not a great William Finn score. You could go see Little Miss Sunshine without knowing any other William Finn musical, or even without watching the movie. movie, and you would not have felt like you wasted your time. This was the case with my mom, who was my +1 when I went out to see this production, and she absolutely loved it. She called it one of the most fun musicals that she has ever seen with me. And despite the shortcomings of the score, I really enjoyed this show quite a bit. The factors that really sold it for me were Colin Healy's zany directing, the really creative visuals, and the heartfelt performances from Fly North Theatricals' versatile ensemble of 10 actors. Zoe Cleavorn is fantastic as Olive. The way that Cleavorn navigates Olive's beats from aggressively optimistic to quietly hopeful to deeply sad and then back again, it's so convincing. It makes her acting skills feel like they are far beyond her years. This, combined with her genuinely great vocals, Zoe Cleavorn's Olive is so captivating to watch. Now, outside of being the props designer for the show, Kel Rolfe also designed the costumes, and while I think the costumes for the rest of the characters are great, I do think Olive is a bit too polished. In the movie, you look at Olive and you could see she is a huge nerd with very plain looks, and much of the story's dramatic irony comes from a girl with the looks and poise of Olive competing in a beauty pageant. But for Fly North's production, I think they actually put too much of a focus on trying to make Olive cute. She has this side ponytail, this bedazzled purple tank top, jean shorts, and purple Converse high tops, a nondescript book bag, really fancy purple earphones. Olive just kind of looks like a conventional modern girl. I just thought that the way that Olive was costumed in this production to be very restrained. Like, you could really have gone all out with how much of a nerd she really is. But Cleavorn's performance alone was enough to keep me invested, as did the performances of the rest of the cast. Eileen Engel as Cheryl perfectly captures the stressed out mom side of her character, with a very uppity tightness that makes Cheryl's exasperation hilarious. And Engel also nails Cheryl's depressive side, with a haunting vocal in Something Better Happen that makes the song's feeling of existential dread creeping over you really effective. Brian McKinley gives a fully realized portrayal of Richard, a man with pro-athlete dreams and essentially no job prospects, struggling to keep his family motivated with every setback. I've always argued that Richard is the protagonist of Little Miss Sunshine, and Brian McKinley's portrayal of him is definitely in support of that argument, at points being needlessly harsh towards Olive, and just in general being inflexible in regards to his delusions of grandeur. But at the same time, if you look at Brian McKinley's face, you can just see how torn apart he is from the years of emotional pain of being neglected by Edwin. And that internalizing of this trauma really makes McKinley's vocals in What You Left Behind really captivating. McKinley and Engel do make for a convincing husband and wife, one that have a lot of problems to work out, even down to their fairly extreme height difference, which I found very amusing to look at. McKinley also has a fun turn as Frank's very immature ex-lover. Darius Lambert as Frank is just a bubbling pot of anxiety, just making him feel like he could fall apart at any moment. You really do believe that he is Cheryl's brother. But Lambert also infuses a lot of Frank's lines with some hard-hitting sarcasm, making his bonding moments between Dwayne very fun to watch, and a laugh-out-loud vocal in How Have I Been? Oh, and speaking of bonding, look who's decided to join us! Say hello to Percy, everybody! You've heard of the Pink Pony Club. Welcome to the White Cat Club. I'm gonna have to get out the lint roller after this one, Chief. Ken Holler as Grandpa Edwin was a scene stealer, being this very archetypal image of the based grandpa with a lot of maxims and a lot of opinions, who's also a sexual deviant drug addict. And Holler blasts through all of this with a feisty personality that makes it clear he does not care what anybody else thinks. I mean, his vocal in The Happiest Guy in the Van is straight up hilarious. But the more heartfelt moments when he sits down to have have serious conversations with Richard and Olive were very well done too, and they leave a huge impact on the audience by the time Act 1 concludes. Haller also gives amusing performances as Frank's rival and the MC of the pageant. Connor Becker as Dwayne is brilliant. He takes on the monumental task of playing a musical theater character who is silent for most of the show. Becker absolutely aces Dwayne's physicality, with great facial expressions that tell us exactly what Dwayne is thinking, including his silent love and support for Olive, letting us know that Dwayne is Olive's rock against all of the pressures of the rest of her family. But it's the start of Act 2 where Becker really shines, where he portrays Dwayne's mental breakdown in a manner that was legitimately shocking and even kind of scary. But the moment where Olive comforts Dwayne, it's powerful, and it's done entirely without words. It was superbly pulled off in this production. I can definitely see Connor Becker as a name to watch out for, as is Parker Collier in the rest of the adult ensemble roles. He voices Richard's GPS, which is humorously called the Map Bitch. He plays a smarmy doctor and a domineering nurse within 30 seconds of each other. He's the easygoing teenage stage manager of the pageant, complete with over-the-top voice cracks, and as a former beauty queen in a simply fabulous drag performance. Collier's versatility in all of these roles is insane, with all of these crazy character voices and unique personalities that are played brilliantly. And to have such talent at playing these such distinct characters with tight, quick changes, and also being a senior in high school? Oh, y'all better watch out when this kid comes onto the scene. The cast is rounded out by 3 young performers, Zy Beckley, Brynja Murphy, and Callum Thompson, who all play Olive's classmates and pageant contestants. They are a chorus in Olive's mind, as they all make fun of her, pointing out things that Olive is insecure about. And during these moments, their vocals and their harmonies are really quite good. These 3 have great potential in the musical theater sphere as well. And even with an age range that is really huge, the entire cast is tightly coordinated. Not just because of director Colin Healy, but also his wife, Angela, who serves as the choreographer. Angela Healy conceived some fun dance moves for the cast, both at the pageant and in the bus. The happiest guy in the van actually features a sitting kick line that got a lot of laughs. I'm satisfied with this production of Little Miss Sunshine, and I'm glad that Fly North Theatricals did it. It's a fantastic opportunity for young actors to flex their comedic chops on a mature story, and for older actors to really sink their teeth into characters who are truly unforgettable. Yeah, the score is weak, but the show more than makes up for that with the fact that it's Little Miss Sunshine. This is an adaptation of one of the best comedies ever made. And Fly North's production makes good on capturing the characters, the jokes, the pacing, the timing, the iconic visuals, the attention to detail, and even the heartfelt, healing central message. All of that makes Fly North Theatricals' Little Miss Sunshine worth checking out. Did you see this production though? If so, what did you think about it? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below and let me know. Be sure to scan this QR code or click the link in the description to learn about and donate to Fly North's Theater for All initiative. Be sure to check out my website, jackreviewsmusicals.com, to read my back catalog of written reviews. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any more St. Louis musical theater reviews coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, long live the musical!